Good morning, evening, or afternoon, everybody. It's Kaghoe coming at you with another video. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about how Blizzard should do Classic Plus, sort of following up with my video on Monday that did really well, sort of talking about Classic Plus and like what it would do and sort of how it could save the game, because I think the game is quite divided nowadays, with there being 4 different ways to play the game, with hardcore classic era, Wrath classic, as well as retail, sort of dividing the player base among these little niches. I think, that was talking about Classic Plus being able to sort of save the game in that regard. But today I wanted to take the time to, talk about what I think is most important and how they should implement these systems, and just sort of see what you guys think about that as well. But before we get into the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Everything you guys do helps my channel grow, helps me get discovered, and helps me help as many people as possible, which is the entire point of my channel. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the biggest, most important thing I think Blizzard can do when we're talking about World of Warcraft and Classic Plus is going to be keeping the level cap at 60. When you keep it at 60, it allows for the entire world to stay relevant. Whether you add new zones, new areas, new questions, whatever you're adding new, it allows everything about Classic to stay here and stay relevant, which is incredible for the game. It allows so much content. It allows 1 to 60 to not be gone. The best example we have of this is when they added TBC and Outland. It allowed us to go there and become 70, and then Outland became the sole focus. Those 7 areas became the exact focus of the game, and no one really went anywhere else. So I think one of the best things they can do is keep it level 60 because of that. And you can even add Outland and Northrend into the game, just as sort of how they were in Warcraft 3, with easy achievable sort of zones and quest lines that wrap up with those. With that, let's transition into my next point, which is going to be sort of making sure that you address all the new unfinished quest lines that they have here in Classic. One of the biggest ones is the Shade of Aranicus quest. You get it in this is what we use for an example. You get it at Temple, Sunken Temple, and then you have to go in this cave and turn it in, and then it takes you all the way up here to Winter Spring, where you can turn it in. And then he says, I'll be in contact later, and you can come here, and then they just sort of let that die. That could be a great one for an Emerald Dream, Hyjal raid, something like that. Or a dungeon that they could lead into something. It could be a quest line, it could be a dungeon, it could be something just like that. But there are so many unfinished quest lines that lead to so many dead ends. The Defias chain here in Stormwind kind of leads to dead ends. There could be a Defias raid or dungeon. You could do Karazhan. You could do so many examples of quest lines that die here that have such potential for new content that a lot of people would love to see. You could do something with Gilneas. You could even have, this becomes Silver Moon in the High Elves up here, but the map is there for that area. Like right here, you have the Twilight Highlands, which is what it becomes. Gilneas down here. There's so many things with Eastern Kingdoms that are just left off that could all become really good content that they could have the ability to add and sort of utilize and give decent chains and rewards for it. Next, I want to take the time to talk about sort of talent trees and fixing a lot of the broken classes. So, in my opinion, one of the best things that I loved the most was the Burning Crusade talent trees in that pre-patch, because I felt like it fixed a ton of class sort of things that made classes unplayable, and it allowed to have the need for a class. You needed a Boomkin in TBC, you needed an Elisham, you needed a Shadow Priest, you needed a Ret Paladin. Had a need for all of those classes, which were just four examples of sort of the hybrid specs that really, really sort of sucked here in Classic. And so I think the easiest sort of paintbrush way is to give you the TBC talent trees that would fix a lot of those hybrid classes instead of going in and individually tweaking them to be something. I think just giving us TBC talents, TBC abilities, stuff like that, and like maybe you hit 60 and you go to one of these new zones and they just give you 10 talents, or you start getting the talents at level 1. Whichever way really works. It's not too important. I just think it'd be really cool to sort of be able to utilize those trees in this content, and it keeps the world at 60 as well as fixes all the problems that we have. And then whether or not to add, sort of, people like to debate whether you go high elf with alliance, which would essentially just be blood elves, and then ogres with horde. Or you just do Blood Elf and Draenei like we did in TBC, but it's just to really enable classes and specs. I don't really like that nowadays that Paladins and Shamans are, faction exclusive. It was cool back in the day, but I don't really like it nowadays. We know what they do. We have the game figured out, right? So having Shaman buffs and Paladin buffs on both sides, especially if we went with the TBC thing and Bloodlust was introduced, that would be definitely something really interesting to see, especially if only Horde got it. I think it'd be really bad for the game. I honestly see no reason why all races can be all classes nowadays, personally, but I understand the classic feel of it and the exclusivity. I understand what that creates, so I would just love personally to see that in Classic Plus. I see no purpose to gatekeep that nowadays. Then when we're talking about all those new zones, all those new content areas, places that people could go, like Gilneas, maybe even Outland or Northrend with a very Warcraft 3 vibe, would you guys like to see new world buffs added? I definitely think they should keep world buffs in the game. Absolutely, they're some of the most fun things to do. With Chrono Boon, it makes it a fun reason to log in and go do it, because you know how powerful you're going to be in raid, and raiding with world buffs is so freaking fun. It's something I miss in Wrath and TPC a lot, actually. It was cool to make sure my characters were buffed for their raids and going out and getting them. Just the community coordination with it all too is really, really cool to see. It's something that I loved with Classic, and I would love to see that. I don't really know what new form they would take, or even put Songflowers in those new zones, stuff like that. That could be a thing, or some way to get world buffs. Instead of Dire Maul North being the only place to get those buffs, just have them as flowers like Songflower on the ground in other areas too. I think it'd be really, really cool, and make it more fun for people to sort of have other ways to get them, so then they're also a little protected from getting griefed from world buffs as well. And then finally, with the new raid content that could be added, whether we do Caravans Crypts, whether it's a 20 or 40 man raid, or a Scarlet Monastery raid, Emerald Dream raid, whatever you want to talk about, a Gilneas raid. These are just the zones and stuff that have been in the lore that you could sort of talk about and make into a raid. I don't know exactly what they would do with those. I mean, maybe even go to Outlands or Northrend and have a raid there. But whatever they add, would you guys like to see them make the raid content equivalent to current phases? This was actually stemmed from a comment that I had on the previous video, but would you guys like to see raid content stem off of it? So Molten Core lines up with the Scarlet Monastery raid, so you have 2 things per week, 2 lockouts that you can get Molten Core gear from, or equivalent of it. So it sort of takes the game and keeps them phases. Because one of the most beautiful things about Classic is if you want to go Nax, once you hit Fresh 60, you have to progress. You got to get your pre-gear, you got to go and get MC gear, BWL gear, AQ gear, and then you go into Nax. Going into Nax with just Molten Core gear, you would get absolutely slaughtered. And I think that progression is something that's really, really awesome in Classic, and what makes Classic Classic. Another alternative that someone proposed to me would be having them be 1.5 tiers, similar how AQ is tier 2.5, because BWL is tier 2 and Nax is tier 3. AQ came out in between them and had sort of a little tier 2.5 set that was only a 5 set instead of an 8 set. Would you like to see 1.5, 3.5 tiers like that, or would you guys just simply want to see tier 4, 5, and 6 just progress through it that way, and each raid is harder and you just get more gear? I would love to hear what you guys really think about this. This is just sort of a pure idea that I've sort of thought of with talking with a lot of my guildies on Wrath Classic and a few of you guys in the comments below. So I would love to hear what you guys would like to see for raid content. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoy it. I would love to hear all your thoughts, opinions on all of the subjects that we talked about. Definitely drop it down below in the comments. I love reading them and replying to them. But until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. It truly means a lot to me. If you happen to find anyone that you know would also benefit from watching this video, please share it with them. It helps me out a ton and allows me to keep doing what I love every single day, and that is gaming and sort of helping people any way that I can. So finally, thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Goodbye.